in Charlotte. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Brian Blakely. The announcement comes as state and local leaders are facing a public backlash over the express lanes and their potential impact on nearby neighborhoods. But as Chief Political Correspondent Andy Weber reports, some in Charlotte say the changing deadline isn't drastic enough.
This delay in the I-77 widening project was welcome news to much of Charlotte City Council, but some of its members argue that NCDOT could have gone further.
I do think the good news is NCDOT has now recognized that their usual process for these things is not going to cut it.
Charlotte City Council members met Monday night, hours after leaders at the North Carolina Department of Transportation announced they're pushing back the expansion of I-77 and won't ask for proposals from road builders until late June. In a statement, NCDOT Secretary Daniel Johnson says the additional time will be used to engage more with residents. Mayor Vi Wiles told council members the agency will set up a physical community resource center in the impacted area.
They have listened to council members over the last week and a half. These are small steps. These are small steps along the way. There's certainly a lot more work to be done.
The council as a whole seemed to welcome the delay, but some members like J.D. Masuera Arias think NCDOT should take a few steps back. He argued the current proposal of adding toll lanes shouldn't be the solution to ease congestion.
We should have the conversation of what we can do and exhaust every possible option.
That position is shared by local advocates, including Shannon Binns with Sustain Charlotte, who argued adding rapid transit bus lanes could help more people get around than toll lanes.
You have to move people more efficiently. That's the way you reduce congestion. Just adding more cars with one person to the road doesn't work.
NCDOT officials, including Secretary Johnson, are set to meet with council again this Wednesday. Reporting in Uptown, I'm Andy Weber, Queen City News.
Tomorrow is primary election day in North Carolina. Voters will go to the polls to decide key party races for offices ranging from the U.S. Senate seat currently held by Tom Tillis to local level contests for offices like sheriff and mayor. Republicans and Democrats each have 6 candidates in their respective primaries. The front runners are Democrat and former Governor Roy Cooper and former Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley. Between the two men, they have spent more than $7 million in campaign advertising. Key race watched statewide is a Republican primary for North Carolina State Senate District 26, covering Rockingham and Guilford counties. The incumbent is Trump-endorsed Phil Berger, who is also the Senate President Pro Tem, one of the most powerful posts in the state. But he is facing a challenge from popular Rockingham County Sheriff Sam Page. Analysts say a Berger loss could create a power vacuum among the state's conservative ranks. We're also watching the Democratic primary for Mecklenburg County Sheriff. Incumbent Gary McFadden is facing 3 challengers, Rodney Collins and Twain Nance, both who worked under McFadden at the sheriff's office, and Ricky Robbins, a retired Charlotte-Mecklenburg police sergeant. And a key legislative local race that we're watching is the Democratic primary for State House District 106 in Mecklenburg County. Incumbent Carla Cunningham has held that seat since 2013, but she has been criticized for voting with Republicans on the law requiring sheriffs to cooperate with federal immigration officials. Her challengers are Vermano Bowman and Reverend Rodney Sadler, who has Governor Josh Stein's endorsement. You can find the voter guide to tomorrow's election on our website, queencitynews.com, and we'll have the results tomorrow night on Queen City News at 10.
What's so unique about measles is it's so contagious. If you're in a room with somebody with measles and you're not vaccinated, there's like a 90% chance that you're going to catch it.
Federal officials say in the first 2 months of 2026, there have been more than 1,100 measles cases nationwide. Those numbers include 18 cases in North Carolina and 653 in South Carolina so far this year. New state numbers come out tomorrow. Queen City News anchor Caroline Boyer here, and Caroline, experts there calling this an alarming trend to start the year.
Brian, officials with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say the case numbers we're seeing currently are 6 times higher than what's expected for an entire year. With spring break coming up, there's concern more cases could arise.
I want to describe how the CDC is responding to rising measles cases in the United States.
It's the latest effort to combat the measles virus, surging in communities across the country and closer to home. CDC leaders released a new video Monday outlining the steps they're taking to slow the spread, which is mainly happening amongst children ages 5 to 19.
There is no cure for measles, which is why prevention is so critical. The MMR vaccine remains the most reliable and effective way to prevent it.
2 doses are 97% effective at providing lifelong protection against the virus. Beyond pushing the vaccine, federal health experts are coordinating meetings with local health officials and offering CDC technical and laboratory staff for states requesting help.
We will continue working closely with health departments and communities to build trust. Our goal is simple: healthy children, thriving families, and strong communities today and into the future.
As we get to the time of year where more people will travel and congregate, Carolina pediatricians are warning parents their children are likely to encounter measles the more vaccination levels drop in the U.S.
We need to, kind of reframe the conversation and say, look at the risks of measles. Up to 20% of kids will be hospitalized if they get measles. And of those, maybe 1 in 1,000 kids who get sick have death. I mean, that is a very high number.
And of course, a large number of the cases so far this year are in South Carolina, where the outbreak is centered near Spartanburg County. Palmetto State health officials will share their next update on the outbreak Wednesday afternoon. Brian.
Caroline, thanks for the info tonight. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem will testify tomorrow morning before the Senate Judiciary Committee. One notable member of the panel is North Carolina Senate Republican Thom Tillis, one of the Noem's biggest critics on Capitol Hill. He has called for the secretary's firing over her leadership of immigration enforcement and FEMA delays in North Carolina's hurricane recovery. That hearing begins at 9 tomorrow morning. There are more missile attacks underway tonight across the Middle East as Iran and the U.S. allies trade airstrikes. President Trump is threatening retaliation after a drone hit the U.S. embassy in Saudi Arabia's capital. And as Margaret Chadbourne reports tonight, Pentagon leaders say the conflict is far from over.
The president is warning operations in Iran could last 4 to 5 weeks, but the U.S. is prepared for it to last much longer.
The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development.
President Trump from the White House promised the U.S. will keep up its military offensive in Iran until its missile capabilities are destroyed.
But whatever the time is, it's okay, whatever it takes.
The president outlined other key goals: take out the country's Navy, cut off its path to a nuclear weapon, and ensure that the government cannot provide support to terrorist armies. No mention of a regime change from the president Monday, although earlier Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did address the death of Iran's supreme leader.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change.
U.S. Central Command announcing a 6th U.S. service member has died.
They're heroes and represent the best of our nation has to offer.
Since the U.S. and Israel first launched airstrikes over the weekend, Iran is retaliating, firing attacks toward Israel and U.S. military bases.
The most critical point is that this was a defensive measure, a defensive operation.
Reaction to the conflict in Congress is sharply divided, with most Republicans backing the operation. But Democrats are sounding the alarm.
No matter how you feel about the Iranian regime, we stand at a dangerous moment for our troops and for the Middle East, and even perhaps for the world.
Democrats want to put the war for a vote that could happen later this week. Meanwhile, top administration officials did brief congressional leaders earlier today, and tomorrow they will brief the full Congress. Reporting in Washington, Margaret Chadbourne.
After such a warm finish to the weekend yesterday, this first March Monday definitely feeling more like kind of the winter chill, with those temperatures hovering in the 40s and 50s with clouds, some light rain and drizzle around. I'll show you what you'll be waking up to in the morning and when we'll start to feel warmer again. That's next.
A scary situation at a West Coast airport. What caused passengers to evacuate a flight at LAX?
I'm so proud of her, and this is going to be a game changer for her.
And a scholarly surprise in Denver in tonight's Faces of the Carolinas, why a teenage Chick-fil-A employee is being rewarded for what she does beyond the front counter.
Well, the Charlotte Hornets with once again another win streak, trying to push 4 straight wins to 5 Tuesday night at the Hive with Dallas in town. We'll hear from Hornets head coach Charles Lee, now down a key rotation guy for tomorrow. And it's Mockin' Monday. Another Monday will prognosticate who the Carolina Panthers will be taking with the 19th overall pick in April. Got a busy show to get to in just a bit on Carolina Sports Live, coming up at 11 o'clock.
Always big Monday tonight, Joey. All right, thanks. Yeah, we'll see you in a little bit. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. North Carolina's military installations are on heightened alert as U.S. forces attack Iran. As Justin Moore reports, the conflict has families at Fort Bragg asking, what's next?
Here at Fort Bragg, the possibility of new deployments is top of mind. Families tell me they're watching every headline, every update, trying to prepare for something that hasn't happened yet. Army veteran Jack Pine says the big question he keeps hearing is why now?
Last year we said we depleted their nuclear capabilities, so why are we doing it? You know, what is the plan?
He says soldiers understand the reality of conflict, but they want clarity. Meanwhile, local business owners are also bracing for impact. Nancy Ramos owns a coffee shop in Fayetteville. She says when troops deploy, families often leave town.
A lot of spouses will literally just pick up their stuff and go home for 6 months, depending on the deployment.
Ramos is also a military spouse. She remembers getting a call years ago when her ex-husband was injured in Afghanistan and says no family ever forgets that moment.
And I remember that phone call like it was yesterday, and nobody wants that phone call.
America is celebrating its 250th birthday this year. Some of the nation's most important documents are on a first-of-its-kind journey. They're being flown from city to city on the Freedom Plane. And the papers include the Treaty of Paris from 1783 that ended the Revolutionary War and an original engraving of the Declaration of Independence.
The nation that our founding fathers brought forth has more than survived the test of time. It has thrived. And 250 years on, we are now charged with carrying on what they started to ensure that this noble American experiment lives on boldly and proudly.
The first stop on the tour is Kansas City, where the plane arrived this afternoon. The closest city to Charlotte is Atlanta between March 27th and April 12th. Police in communities around Charlotte in the U.S. are using license plate readers to solve crimes, but there are questions tonight surrounding their use by Virginia police. Sarah Molina looks at the new report.
ALPR technology is often used to help law enforcement solve crimes, but a Virginia State Crime Commission study says several agencies are storing data longer than allowed, ensuring it against state guidelines. The study, published in January, surveyed more than 360 Virginia law enforcement agencies. It says that nearly 160 reported using ALPR technology. State law requires a policy for how the data is handled, but only 70% of responding agencies say they have one. It also says 20% of agencies across the state are storing data longer than they should. Here in Richmond, police partner with Flock to monitor its 99 ALPR units. We're told they follow state law's 21-day limit on data storage, and all officers respond to the rules set by the Commonwealth. Mayor Danny Avula says the cameras are supporting law enforcement efforts.
The way that Flock has augmented our law enforcement response, this is kind of the new age of policing.
Now officials say that letters will be sent to all agencies that are not following state ALPR guidelines. In the meantime, the Crime Commission will continue monitoring ALPR use across the state.
President Trump says he has directed all files from state agencies related to UFOs and the search for alien life to be released. It comes following reports of unidentified objects in the skies of Texas. But a UFO researcher says he doesn't expect any bombshell discoveries, but maybe some answers to long-standing questions.
There have been so many promised releases of government information about UFOs that ended up being pages and pages of totally black pages. I mean, I'm hoping it won't be that, and I'm hoping it'll be something significant.
Researchers believe if there are deep secrets about alien life, they may never be fully disclosed. Well, if you're up late or early enough, you'll get a chance to see a rare phenomenon in the sky. The moon will look blood red during a total lunar eclipse overnight. The reason for the color is due to the bits of sunlight filtering through the Earth's atmosphere. Process is in our time zone begins around 3:45 a.m. with totality in the 6 o'clock hour. There will be another total lunar eclipse until late 2028. Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane is here, and we know there's going to be an eclipse, but will we get to see it in the night skies tonight if we're up at 3:45 to 6?
Yeah, that's the thing. You're going to have to set your alarm super early in the middle of the night and heading into early Tuesday morning with that totality happening around 6:04, as we said. But the clouds, the weather is just not cooperating. This time. Yeah. So
some spots, maybe you might get lucky.
Maybe up toward the mountains, but there's still going to be some foggy conditions overall and some mist and drizzle, maybe a couple showers around.
We'll have video for you.
Yeah. Yes, we'll see video maybe from other parts of the country out there through early tomorrow morning. Definitely feeling the cooler weather out there. What a change from yesterday. Temperatures are running some 20 to 30 degrees on the cooler side this first Monday of March, including over in downtown Gastonia. Again, this whole eclipse thing starts in the middle of the night, 4:35 or so in the morning. And as I said, totality right around 6:04 or so, and that will kind of wrap up just after 7 o'clock. But a lot of clouds around. The moon's already going to be setting around 6:52. So even if we did have more of a clear view, at totality, it's going to be so close to the horizon that you would have to have a completely unobstructed view off to the west. And so again, conditions just not cooperating, and the sun starts to come up just before 7 o'clock as well. Sunrise just before 7 o'clock. So a lot of clouds around. Notice as we take it out into the night and watching the continued chance of some of that spotty rain up toward the mountains and near the I-40 corridor. There we are at about 5, 6 o'clock or so in the morning, and still just that blanket of white showing up there in the sky, indicating the cloud cover. And you could be waking up to some spotty areas of light rain and drizzle early tomorrow morning. You can see we still have some of that, a few sprinkles lingering out there right now toward eastern Chesterfield County, Richmond County, and up toward the mountains and foothills, and even just a little bit of pink showing up there too, where temperatures are getting awfully close to freezing. I'm not worried about any widespread icing issues on the roads because road surface temperatures are a little too warm, but on elevated surfaces, maybe a little bit of light icing possible. Banner Elk, Newland, and maybe up toward Boone could see some of that, but just a few. Again, I'm not expecting widespread issues with that into early tomorrow morning. Now, the temperature today, top reading 62 degrees in Queen City, kind of deceiving because that was actually reached at midnight last night or early this morning. And ever since then, we've stayed on the cooler side. Those numbers were cooling through the 40s and 50s throughout the day. We've got 46 degrees right now in Charlotte and out toward Monroe, the lower 40s from Albemarle up toward Statesville and Salisbury, low 40s up in the foothills. And again, right around that freezing mark up in the mountains. We're not going to get much colder from where we are right now. We'll settle into the mid 40s. So again, maybe knocking off a degree or two off those temperatures come sunrise tomorrow, but we will still be under the influence of this cool air wedge with that northeasterly flow from our part of the world here in the Carolinas north. As we just head to the south, it does get a little bit warmer, but that will also, along with more cloud cover, keep temperatures on the cooler side for really one more day tomorrow. And then starting Wednesday, we are warming up. And by the end of the week, we are talking about near record warmth once again. So tomorrow, we're not quite there yet. Again, after starting in the 40s in the morning, about 58 later in the afternoon, we may see some breaks or peaks of sunshine going into the afternoon, but still just looking at quite a bit of cloud cover throughout the day. It's not really until Wednesday that we start to see more of an erosion of that widespread cloud cover and more sunshine popping out, helping to warm things up. So the rain chances go away Wednesday into Thursday. Again, there could still be some spotty light rain and drizzle hanging around into at least early tomorrow morning. And then we'll pick up some relatively low shower and storm chances with the warmth returning later in the week and by later in the weekend too. So we go from 58 tomorrow to 75 on Wednesday. There's the low 80s. That would put us into record territory, low to mid 80s heading into the weekend. By the way, it's spring forward time. Before going to bed Saturday night, those clocks go ahead 1 hour.
Something to think about with 80-degree temperatures this weekend too. Tara, thanks. What does the new war in the Middle East mean for average Americans? The impact on gas prices and other parts of the economy. Plus new information on the gunman behind a Texas mass shooting, why police aren't ready just yet to call it terrorism. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. To Los Angeles now, where you're looking at video from LAX of the emergency landing at a cross-country flight to New Jersey. The United Airlines 787 left LAX shortly after 10 this morning, but returned about 40 minutes later due to an engine fire. And that video shows passengers using the slides and then the air stairs to evacuate the plane. The incident forced all other LAX flights to remain grounded for about 30 minutes. A passenger on another plane says that her fellow flyers were told to close their windows.
I mean, I'm shocked and I'm surprised that we weren't told, because, I mean, maybe they didn't want anyone to panic, so that's why they didn't say anything, and maybe we were safe. It definitely wasn't our flight, so maybe it was a good thing they told us to close those windows.
None of the 250 passengers and flight crew members were hurt. Crews are already investigating the cause of that fire. Operation Epic Fury not only affects the countries from a military standpoint, but there's a change at the gas pump with prices already beginning to tick up. Average price for a gallon of gas in the Charlotte area sits around $2.75, according to Gas Buddy. As Henry Rossoff reports tonight, some residents are already starting to notice.
I drive every day.
So this is going to hit you hard?
Exactly. It's going to hit my wallet, that's right.
Efran Monroy commutes to work in Brooklyn from his Staten Island home.
Back and forth.
How often would you say you fill up a week?
Usually like two to three times.
He's one of several drivers we met gassing up, already noticing the price at the pump is ticking up following the United States and Israel's military action in Iran. The military strikes and counterattacks by Iran are leading to a lot of uncertainty, especially around the future fuel supply.
For New Yorkers, it's going to be tough because we got all these tolls and stuff, the gas prices. Just recently they've been going down, so now we're hearing it's going to go back up. That's kind of crazy.
There's also questions around the financial markets, putting 401ks and pensions at risk. Markets Monday were still trying to make sense of what was going on with the conflict impacting multiple Middle Eastern countries and the all-important Strait of Hormuz, which more than 20% of the world's oil passes through.
The stock market reacts to psychological factors more than real factors. I think our forces, they've been very good in terms of basically making sure that any kind of Revolutionary Guard, ships or boats or whatever that might put mines over there and would close up the Strait of Hormuz, they are not functioning.
The South Carolina farewell to one of the state's native sons and a civil rights icon. Now Jesse Jackson is being remembered after ceremonies at the state capitol. A business owner in her early 20s, a North Carolina girl who took a storage unit and turned it into success. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. This was the scene in Columbia today as folks lined up at the South Carolina State House as the body of Reverend Jesse Jackson was lying in state. The civil rights icon passed away back on February 17th. As Simone Jamison reports tonight, visitors say they were met with shock and sadness after his passing and reflected on the legacy he leaves behind and where his message stands in today's nation.
It stopped me in my tracks. It really did, because I knew what he stood for. And I don't feel that we have that today.
Gina Luberger and her husband Jeff tell me they were traveling from Ohio to Florida when they heard the late Reverend Jesse Jackson would lie in state at the South Carolina State House Monday. They say they were obligated to stop and pay tribute.
This is a man you could find no fault with. That's not hard to do when you're human.
Visitors like Maxie Joy also pay their respects at the South Carolina State House. He says the speech Jackson gave during his college graduation in the 1970s moved him.
I think his service, service to others, that's the most. Giving of his time to stand up for what's right.
Reverend Jackson's servant leadership, kindness, and humility are among the traits Andrell Sumter says her family took to heart as they made their way inside the State House for the ceremony.
He kept holding up the torch after Martin Luther King and the Rainbow Coalition. I remember historically when he went and helped free the prisoners overseas. It's just so much history. He just kept moving all the time.
Sumter says Jackson's leadership inspired her and her grandchildren to join NAACP chapters in the Midlands.
To make a difference in what you do and just always be kind to whoever you see.
Efforts these visitors say are critical and what some call a pivotal point in the nation's history, politically and socially.
I think we almost had a reset right now. We got to go back to the basics and go back to humanity.
I feel like there's been so many steps backwards in today's world, and it's up to us to hang on to the hope, to carry his message forward, and we can get there. We absolutely can get there. It takes a village.
Law enforcement officers are showing their respect to fallen North Carolina trooper Stephen Perry. They escorted his body today from Raleigh to a Durham funeral home. Trooper Perry died in a head-on crash early yesterday morning. Investigators say a wrong-way driver hit the trooper's vehicle, killing them both. Perry's high school football coach reflected on his former player's community legacy.
He's going to be missed. He's going to be missed. I'm still heartbroken. I'm at a loss for words, but he embodied everything that Durham is, and that's all I can really say.
Perry also lettered as an offensive lineman for North Carolina Central University for 2014 to 2017 before graduating with a criminal justice degree. To Texas now, where you're looking live at video from Austin here in the aftermath of a mass shooting. First responders were trying to get to the scene, but a self-driving Waymo vehicle making a U-turn blocked their path. Someone waiting for an Uber ride recorded the video early yesterday morning. It also shows a police officer getting out of his cruiser and then drives the Waymo auto taxi out of the way. Waymo, which is preparing to launch service here in Charlotte, the Queen City News reached out to the company. A spokesperson says they're working to learn from this situation. They also referred us to a statement from the chief of Austin EMS, who said the delay had no impact on patient outcomes. New information tonight about the suspect and his potential motives. As Adam Squager reports, investigators are also releasing the names of two people, young people, killed in the attack.
I'm here across the street from Buford's, where the shooting occurred, here on 6th Street, a place that's usually filled with nightlife and lots of people, but right now it's filled with reporters, cameras, and police investigating this scene. And here's what we know and what we don't know so far. Monday afternoon, APD confirmed the names of two of the victims who died on Sunday morning, 19-year-old Ryder Harrington and 21-year-old Savitha Shawn. Harrington was a student at Texas Tech University last fall, where his fellow Red Raiders are hosting a vigil for him later tonight. Similarly, Shawn was a student at UT Austin, with University President Jim Davis telling the student body, "I know all of us are grieved by this horrible news, and we will remember her." The president also saying a number of the students at the school also sustained injuries. According to APD Chief Lisa Davis, the list of those killed could be increasing.
I believe one patient will be taken off life support sometime today, and then two other patients are still critical.
Police are still investigating the shooter for potential ties to terrorism, with Davis noting the shooter had the flag of Iran on the shirt he wore under his Property of Allah hoodie. However, they say any conclusions would be premature.
Right, we want to make sure that we have our facts 100% correct, or as close to, or at least we've tracked down every possible lead that we can, because that's what we owe to the victims, right?
APD also said the shooter acquired his guns legally in San Antonio back in 2017. Both APD and the FBI said the shooter was not on their radar ahead of Sunday morning's shooting. However, the Texas Department of Public Safety encouraged all Texans to download their iWatch Texas app and report any suspicious activity or behavior they may be seeing.
A South Carolina-based church group is still stranded in Israel tonight. The group from Somerville was visiting the Holy Land on their last night. They started to hear sirens and were promptly evacuated to a bomb shelter. Vic Carroll is the church's pastor.
Just earth-shattering, explosions over your head Saturday and all day Sunday. I mean, it was almost every hour, and especially in the middle of the night.
Carroll says church members held a Sunday morning service. He added that the Holy Spirit was present and allowed them to experience the Holy Land in a way that most never do. Countless videos are circulating online of the conflict in the Middle East. It comes during the rise of AI videos in the social media landscape. It can make it sometimes difficult to know what's real and what's fake. Nick Broadway spoke to an expert about how to find out the true difference.
Fabricated images seem to get posted a lot when major global events break out. The College of William & Mary AI expert Daniel Shin says it happened a lot during Hurricane Helene. With the recent conflict, the U.S. Central Command had to make a post saying video of an aircraft carrier being blown up was not real. That actually turned out to be footage from a video game. In the past few days, AI videos of missile strikes and the like are being spread online. Shin says the people who run these accounts are just trying to boost engagement numbers.
It is very possible that people can generate realistic photos or videos without having any discernible way to say that this was AI generated.
When scrolling through social media, be skeptical of anything that leaves a big impression on you.
If you see something online, especially on social media, that causes some kind of a rapid reaction within you, step back and take a look and ask serious questions about why am I feeling it this way?
Before taking it as a fact, Shin says try to see if other news agencies are reporting on it. Check if the post credits the source.
Look for other clues outside of the media itself. Look at who is posting it.
Shin says the U.S. government has posted AI-generated media on its own social accounts. So far, he has not seen the government post AI content pertaining to the recent Iran invasion.
Confusion is beginning to set in at food banks after changes to SNAP benefit eligibility requirements. Able-bodied adults between 18 and 64 are required to document at least 80 hours of work each month to qualify. If they don't, their benefits could disappear by June. Steve Katz works with a New Jersey food bank. He says the changes could hurt veterans and other people already dealing with problems.
These are people that are dealing with real hardships in their life. Assistance from the government shouldn't be another one of those hardships.
Veterans are no longer exempt from SNAP benefits' new requirements. A young High Point woman who says she is surprised with how things have fallen into place. Her love of fitness has turned her into a business owner, all because of an unused storage unit. Natalie Wilson introduces us to the aspiring entrepreneur tonight.
So this space here, this is where it all started.
Yes. Issa Dula is in awe of how all the pieces have fallen into place.
It's just an encouraging space for everybody. So when you lunge down, you're gonna bicep curl down.
The High Point native has turned her love for fitness.
Can you open up your left side
into entrepreneurship?
I was a beginner mat Pilates instructor with Just Fit. The owner, Justice Terry, we instantly became like best friends. And then after that, she really became my business mentor. Justice has her own gym, and then in that gym she has a big storage unit, and she basically said, Issa, this is empty, like you can have at it.
She transformed this space inside Carolina Core Professional Center into her first Pilates studio.
And then the rest was just history.
Marking the beginning of something special.
They feel very empowered when they come here, and they feel a lot of community and inclusivity. So I really try to make that a point with the girls here, the women here. And exhale, dropping the hands in front of your chest. Shh.
It didn't take long for her clientele to grow, building a following on social media as people looked for more strength-based options in the triad.
Other than like aesthetics, it's really functional wellness. So they wanted to find a more lower impact foundation of wellness and fitness, and so they found Pilates.
Thank you, everybody. Seeing the demand, Issa saw another opportunity, opening her second studio just down the hall from the first, less than a year later, at just 23 years old. She was overwhelmed by the show of support.
I was like, oh my gosh, my 6 a.m. is with my 6 p.m. class, my 5 p.m. is with my 7 a.m. class, and it was just wonderful to see. And then also like my church community, my family, it's kind of like your worlds mixing together, and that was the first time that happened for me. So I just felt like in awe that there were so many people like in my corner, and I was very, very grateful in that moment. Welcome to class. My name is Isa.
As the owner and head instructor of Love Size Studios, she's honored to provide a community where people feel safe reaching their goals.
Our slogan here at the studio is to find sincerity and strength. I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel seen. I want them to know that I will always show up for them.
Faith and family are at the core of what's given her the courage to believe for bigger.
I love that I am ambitious now. Like I really own that for myself now. And I feel like nothing is too hard for me. I really do believe that the joy of the Lord is my strength. And then also I do believe that, yeah, I can just do anything. And you guys are done for today. Yay!
All right, and hey, maybe your workout takes you outdoors. Usually you could still run into some of that spotty rain and drizzle early tomorrow. It's still going to feel a little bit on the cool side, but by the end of the week, you may be sweating a little more. Just how much warmer those temperatures are going to get. That's next.
And a local high school student working at a Chick-fil-A thought corporate was visiting to check out her restaurant. How they surprised her with more than a simple compliment. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. A young Denver girl says she is flabbergasted after getting a big check that will reshape her life. She earned it through hard work and the power of positivity. Queen City News storyteller John Lee takes us beyond the confetti in tonight's Faces of the Carolinas.
Even on a gloomy day, at this Denver location, you can order Chick-fil-A with a side of sunshine.
Let me check your receipt today. I'll get that drink for you. Your total is $9.58.
Team member Maddie Kogan insists the pleasure is all hers.
My pleasure. I've worked here for a year and 7 months, I'm pretty sure.
How many times have you said my pleasure?
Probably $1 million. High blood sugar.
Her positivity makes customer service extra pleasant.
I'll get the street food real quick, okay?
And she's like this even when the cameras aren't around. On this day, customers saw a production in honor of Maddie, a student at Lincoln Charter School.
My name is Madison Kogan. We're at Denver Chick-fil-A.
She thinks Chick-fil-A CEO Andrew T. Cathy is here to commend her for being such a great employee.
I also love that I'm able to have the opportunity to make someone's day better, even just through kind words.
But there's a lot of plotting behind her back. You see a crowd of supporters, including family, gathered to watch a big surprise.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
I'm actually here to give you a $25,000 scholarship.
I could not believe it. I was like, this is not real. And I noticed that everyone who I know is around me, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
And I get the opportunity to give out 13 scholarships for $25,000. And it is just an incredible opportunity to see the excitement on our team members' faces when they receive it.
We're so proud of you.
Maddie earned her scholarship with a 4.7 GPA and lots of community involvement. But her mom says the secret sauce is her ability to lead and connect with people.
I'm so proud of her, and this is going to be a game changer for her.
And for the crowd of Maddie fans, seeing what her future has in store will be their pleasure.
Amazing. This is just an unreal moment. I'm so grateful.
In Denver, John Lee, Queen City News.
Such a great story and surprise, right? Last year, Chick-fil-A gave out $29 million in scholarships to 16,000 team members, and congratulations to Maddie tonight. We wish her the best. Let's get back to the weather right now as we want to take a live look at the mountains at Banner Elk this week, off to a cool start, but that's not going to last long. Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane here. It may not feel like it now, but come the weekend time, maybe later in the week, it's going to really get up there.
Yeah, so we're talking possible record highs. So by Friday, and especially over the weekend, those record highs are around the low to mid 80s. Record high on Friday is 80. Forecasting 81. So, I mean,
first time this year.
We're going to be heating up. Yes, indeed. So I know those 80s are back, and 77 yesterday. What a cool change, though, today as we look live over uptown Charlotte, and we still have those clouds overhead helping to just keep a lid on temperatures for much of the day. But it will also prevent temperatures from really getting much colder late tonight while we're sleeping, and early tomorrow morning from where we are right now. So there's not going to be much of a fluctuation in those numbers here by sunrise early tomorrow. And in terms of the rain, there's just not much out there like it's been here for a good part of the day. If you did see any wet weather, just mainly on the lighter side, some drizzle, and we did see the wet conditions looking live over Banner Elk up there in the higher elevations. And it is possible we could see a little bit of a light icy glaze just on elevated surfaces, tree limbs, and maybe stair railings if those temperatures get cold enough. They're hovering kind of right around freezing up there in the high country. That's why we have a little bit of pink showing up there in Banner Elk and down through Newland, down through that part of Avery County, but not expecting major issues for travel out there tomorrow morning. Road surface temperatures after the warmth over the weekend are too warm to support that. And for the most part, it's just looking like some of that leftover scattered rain crossing over the higher elevations and east along that I-40 corridor into late tonight and early tomorrow. And what it could be too light to be picked up on this future radar imagery, even as some of that spotty drizzle with all that cloud cover through tonight and early tomorrow. Check out this temperature change. I mean, earlier we were running about 20 to 30 degrees colder compared to yesterday. Again, that high of 77 degrees. And even here tonight, we're running about 5 to 15, even close to 20 degrees on the cooler side. 46 right now in the Queen City with that cooler flow still in place out of the northeast, about 5 to 10 miles per hour. We've got 47 degrees in Rock Hill, a little bit cooler than that. Statesville's at 41, and right around that freezing mark up there in the high country, still in the mid 40s there off to the east along Highway 74. But then you can see how it does get warmer. We had 80s earlier across the Lone Star State of Texas, and we'll be feeling that warmth by later on in the week and heading into the weekend. But cool again for Tuesday. Temperatures get a little closer to 60 in the afternoon. Could see some breaks of sunshine But before that happens, just still looking at some lingering scattered light rain, spotty drizzle, a little patchy fog, and especially foggy up there in the mountains potentially early tomorrow before the big warm up arrives later on in the week. So tomorrow goes like this. We may see some breaks or peaks of sunshine into the afternoon. Temperature only rising through the upper 50s to near 60. Not too much showing up though when it comes to rain, certainly by tomorrow afternoon. There's some breaks in the cloud deck showing up. Clouds really generally hanging on through about early Wednesday. We don't see more of a widespread erosion of that cloud cover and more blue sky popping out until a little bit later in the day on Wednesday. Temperatures will stay, you know what, after this warm up kicks in later in the week and this weekend, even going into next week. Those numbers look to stay on the warm side for a while. And you know what that means? Getting into that time of the year, or some of you already feeling this, feeling those seasonal allergies, that tree pollen is going to continue to get higher and higher later in the week, especially with the added sunshine and some of the warmth on the way. Check out the mountain forecast. You all up to 53 tomorrow afternoon. Then we jump into the high 60s to lower 70s by the time we get into the weekend. So you know down the mountain is going to be much warmer. There's those 70s starting Wednesday, lower, even a few spots in the mid 80s through the first half of the weekend. We do get some low rain and storm chances returning at this point. And don't forget, time change comes up this weekend too. Turn those clocks ahead 1 hour before bed Saturday night.
Those 80s may make you forget about that, though. All right, thanks, Tara. We heard the phrase raining cats and dogs, how one Kentucky town is celebrating its 150th anniversary of what's known as the meat shower. Ooh, Joey, I can't wait to see that one, what that one's all about. Better yet, what's coming up at 11?
No meat showers tonight in Raleigh. Duke just absolutely hammered North Carolina State there. Big tune-up there before North Carolina. And the Charlotte Hornets again with another win streak, trying to push it to 4, from 4 to 5 now at the Hive. They got Dallas in town. We'll hear from head coach Charles Lee. And it's Mockin' Monday. We got another Monday that will predict who the Carolina Panthers will take with the 19th overall pick. We got a busy show to get to in just a couple of minutes on Carolina Sports Live.
Looking forward to it, especially the Mockin' Monday, to figure out who the Panthers are going to take this week, right? We shall see. Especially after the combine. All right. Thanks, Joey. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. It is a weather phenomenon unlike anything you've ever heard of. Today marks the 150th anniversary of the so-called meat shower in Owensville, Kentucky. Confusion rained from the sky as residents swore there was an actual meat raining down on them. It's even been preserved in glass jars. And the event lives in infamy to the point where the town hosted a festival featuring mystery meat chili cook-offs, a hot dog eating contest, and a bologna roll. It wrapped up with a plane dropping meat from above the residents who actually expected it this time.
I think that's how communities are built, right? It's like the strange thing about your town that brings you all together for any reason, really.
Meat shower is bringing everybody together. Rumors have run rampant for years about where the meat came from. Back in the day, the prevailing theory was from a pack of vultures. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. We'll be right back with the final check of your Pinpoint forecast, followed by Carolina Sports Live.
All right, you could still be waking up to some spotty light rain and drizzle first half of the day tomorrow, maybe some breaks of sunshine in the afternoon, and temperatures getting chilly. I mean, just a few degrees chillier compared to what we're feeling out there right now. So just waking up to 40s, 30s up there in the mountains, only 58 tomorrow afternoon, but the warm up is back starting Wednesday. Look at those near record 80s for the weekend.
Yeah, making plans already. I love seeing that. All right, enjoy your night tonight and into tomorrow, and thanks for joining us. CSL coming up next.